to Brave Girls with Tracy M, Season 4, which I'm calling Smart Money. And this is a podcast series where women are going to share their real stories behind how they earn it, grow it, and navigate it. I'm Tracy M, and each week we'll go beyond the numbers to have honest conversations with women who work in the financial services industry about their careers, their challenges, and their personal journeys with money. We'll also talk to women who've written books about money. And so because money isn't just about spreadsheets or stock markets, it's about power, confidence, opportunity, and sometimes overcoming systems that weren't built with us in mind. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, building wealth, or just trying to feel more in control of your finances, this season is here to give you perspective, insight, and a reminder. There's not just one way to be smart with money. So let's get into it. So welcome to Brave Girls. Today we have in studio Jacqueline Twillie, who is my LinkedIn and Threads friend, who I've been following for quite some time. And synchronistically, she's written several books. She's a leadership development expert, but she wrote a book called Don't Leave Money on the Table. So welcome to the show. Yes, don't leave money on the table. And that just fits in so well with our Smart Money series that we're doing this season. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about you?
Well, first of all, Tracy, thank you for having me on the podcast. I love when my Threads, LinkedIn family become in real life, like we start connecting off of those platforms. And I'm honored to be a part of the Smart Money series. So let me tell you a bit about myself. I'm Jacqueline Twillie, as Tracy said. I grew up in South Louisiana. I currently reside in Brooklyn, New York. I love this city so much. And my career has had quite a few pivots that have been significant. But the story that I want to share with you all today is what led me to talk about negotiation for so many years and what eventually sparked the note that I should write this book, Don't Leave Money on the Table. I had finished my MBA program, moved to Atlanta. I was working at the Center for Disease Control and Global Disease Eradication, and I got really, really blessed with this mentor. All of my life, I've had incredible mentors, but this lady calls me into her office and she's like a head lady, and she always intimidated me because she had so much quiet power that I didn't quite know what to do with it. But she encouraged me to run for an office at CDC, which was the vice president of programs for young professionals. So for all of CDC globally. Along with that, I've always had this curiosity for leadership development and career development. So I also led Lebo League, which is an organization that no longer exists, but it was for millennial women and their profession. So what I was doing was I was leading professional development for these two organizations, but Lebo League changed the trajectory of my career because they had a program that was called Ask for More. And it was set on equal pay day. So imagine this. I'm this young girl from the South. I'm living in Atlanta, which is big city.
Yes.
And then Tracy, the intro, the icebreaker for this organization was so unique. When you walked in, you put your salary on a piece of paper and then you put in a bucket, no name, no title, just the salary. And they passed it around at the end of the event. So it was a weird icebreaker because you start at the beginning, you forget about it. And the way they close that program is that each woman stands up at the end and she just reads the salary, nothing else. And we went all around the room. And in that moment, it was such a wake-up call for me because I was earning more money than anyone in my family as a first-generation college grad. And I was the lowest earning person in that room with an MBA. So then I learned about the pay disparity. I learned about the gender wage gap. I learned how that impacts Black American women, Native American women very significantly, where I think the average at the time was about 78 cents on a dollar compared to the man. Which it hasn't changed much. This is over a decade ago. But for African American women and Native American women and Latino women, it was even lower, closer to like 50 cents, somewhere in that range, 50 to like 69 cents. on a dollar. So that is why I started talking about negotiation, because I got pissed off and I didn't know who to be mad at. And I started doing research, and then I realized, wait a minute, this is complex. There's not a single contributing factor that says this is the one reason why these problems exist. But the one thing that I learned that you can control is your ability to advocate for yourself and negotiate. So that's what put me on the path of talking about negotiation.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I agree. I think about, the pay equity issue that it's just it makes me so angry, right? That people aren't paid the same wage, but it does come down to that self-advocacy. So how did you through that program and since that program, have you sort of changed your mindset? Has that been like the main thing, or like you come from a position of strength when you're negotiating a contract or pay, or
Yeah.
what is sort of like, I agree, don't leave money on the table because there's usually a budget, right? And
Right.
so talk a little bit about what you've learned and sort of like where you are today and what you think about this besides just the advocacy piece.
Yes. So there's, like I said, so many contributing factors to this, but you mentioned one, which is the mindset piece. So one of my favorite books of all time is Mindset by Carol Dweck, The
Yep.
New Psychology of Success. I had to unlearn my fixed mindset behaviors. And to be honest with you, I'm still unlearning those because it took like 30 something years to establish them. And I'm slowly unwinding those. So that's one aspect of changing my relationship with money and changing the way that I think about money. And being raised in the South, there's this certain southernness that women need to be polite. And I think when we talk about money and we talk about gender, and then we get region specific all around the world, there are these nuances that say, oh, be nice, don't ruffle feathers, just be thankful for what you have. You have more than other people, so be grateful. So, unlearning that and confronting the nuance of that is really significant. And the way I think about it now is that I've developed this negotiation framework. It's called Latte because I love coffee.
I love that latte. It's easy to remember too.
Very easy to remember. So it's 5 steps: look, anticipate, think, talk, evaluate. And I actually walk through it in the book.
Got it.
And so, one of the things that I had a difficult time doing, working with people, helping them prep for negotiation, as well as just having my own live mistakes with it, is understanding that I had to demystify the scaries about it. Like, someone's not going to like me. Or I hear often when I talk to people, they're like, oh, they're going to pull the offer. Things are so bad for me. And I can totally relate in this economy. Things are so bad. I don't want to rock the boat. I'll just take what I can get and I'll figure it out. So Latte actually walks you through, how do you think about this without your emotions and feelings attached? So when at step one, you look at the details. At step two, you anticipate what challenges are going to come up. Now, okay, so let me pause for a second. Tracy, have you ever been in a situation where you walked away from the conversation and then you're like, I should have said this?
Yeah, pretty much. Except for one time in my career, I would say every single time I've walked away like, I should have asked for that. Oh, I should have asked for an extra week of vacation because that would have really, brought me back to where I am, and yes, yes. And I agree with the politeness and they're not going to like me, but I like the separating of it's a business decision, right? It's a business decision for them.
Absolutely.
So you sort of have to put your business hat on, right? And
Yes.
all that from the your reputation with them because it's purely a business thing for them. And they have a
It is.
bucket they can pull from.
You're so right. It's so rare that the first offer is the best offer. And if we don't go into a conversation knowing that, then we can sometimes negotiate against ourselves, going back to mindset, because we start creating these narratives.
Hmm.
Margaret Neal is a professor at Stanford University, and she's written a lot about negotiation. And she says that women are actually excellent negotiators when we're representing someone else. We go to bat for them.
Oh yeah, your
It's
children, your parents, anybody, like, yeah, your friends. Oh,
anyone, community, yeah, cause you
yes.
care for. It's when we get to ourselves, I think we bump up against that ingrainedness culturally where it's like, oh, just be grateful for what you have, don't rock the boat. So, step number two of latte, anticipate. That's where you actually start thinking, okay, what are the worst case scenarios? Not that you're going doomsday, but you just want to be prepared so you're not caught off guard and then that night kicking yourself in the ankles like, oh, I should have said this or that. And then you move to step three, which is think. And at step think, now you're getting strategic. You're thinking about the different angles. You're thinking about your receipts, which are the things that you have done before that prove that you can do this again, or that can set you up for success to be innovative or successful. And then my fourth step is talk. Now, this is a part that I struggled with. I would prep for a conversation, but I didn't want to hear myself. And it's kind of like Kobe Bryant talked about this a lot when in his interviews that he would watch the tape. Who likes hearing themselves talk? Who likes seeing themselves on video? Like a lot of us cringe. That's me. So I would practice what I would say in the negotiation, but I would record myself on my phone and then I would play it back. And something about it just gave me the heebie jeebies, right? I would
Mhm.
like get in my bedroom, turn off the light, get in the bed, comforter over my head, and then hit play. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I say that? But here's the thing, in my head, I sounded confident. When I heard the tape, I'm like, who the heck is this woman? I don't know her. But that helped inform me and build that muscle to say, oh, I don't need to say, ah. When I say like $160,000, I don't actually want to sound like $160,000, right? Because who's going to give me 160,000 at that point? So those are some of the things that I started unpacking and when I started using latte as my frame of reference.
I love that. I love that. And then, what kind of feedback have you gotten from women who've read the book and like actually gone out in a lived experience and used latte? Like, what have the results been? It's got to be like so rewarding for you.
It is so rewarding. I actually feel emotional, like getting ready to answer your question. When the book first came out, a woman messaged me. She found me on LinkedIn and she PayPal'd me 300 bucks. And I was so confused. And then I got an email or a DM on LinkedIn. And she said, I read your book in a weekend. Thank you for making it digestible, which was one. And I was also concerned as an author, like, this book is not dense. I was a little bit nervous, like, oh, are people going to like it because it's not a hefty book? But what I learned is that people want something digestible, especially if they have a meeting they're prepping for. So this woman says, I just found your email and PayPal'd you $300 because the amount of money you just helped me earn is incredible. I would have worked against myself. Um, so that was one of my early
Great
stories in the book.
testimonial.
It was so special because I was like, whoa, I didn't even know what to do. It was talking about money, right? And then I
Right?
had to bump up against this other thing with money of, can I receive? What is my
I
capacity
ask
to
you that.
receive?
Yes, I think that what I have seen with my friends who are entrepreneurs that go from six figures to seven figures and then to eight figures is they have to work on that, the capacity to receive, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the willingness to receive. And they have to really, um, see the universe as abundant and,
Oh,
follow
yeah.
the law of receiving and not sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. It's like, no, this is the value that I'm putting out into the world through my body of work, and then it flows back to them and then they just pour it back into like their next thing or whatever. So I definitely think that women struggle with that and can't even really name it, right? But that's what it is.
Let me tell you. I'll tell you this short story. There's a company called Poopery. It's like the spray that you use when you
Yes,
go.
yes.
So the founder of that company, her name's Susie Baptiste. And I met her in 2016 for the first time when I lived in Dallas, Texas. And it was a conference and I was in a room on a call and I turned around and this woman's like floating through the room, this gorgeous hair and like this really amazing jacket. And later she got on stage and she gave a keynote, alive as shit, which is hilarious,
Right.
right? It fits her brand. But we were in Dallas, Texas. We're in the Bible Belt. So you can imagine the red faces and people clutching their proverbial pearls as she says shit 1,000 times in her keynote. But Susie talked about resonance and dissonance. And it really got me thinking about my relationship with money and success. And then later that day, I told two of my girlfriends, this incredible woman named Susie Baptiste. I heard her talk and da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we do coffee with Susie. Do you want to meet her tomorrow? And they're like, we can email her assistant and see if you can go. So I was like, yes, because I'm vibing high off of like her energy.
Right.
Get to the coffee shop the next day, start talking to Susie, and she's just the most incredible human. And within a few minutes of me telling her my story, she says, oh, you self-sabotage, right? You don't know how to receive. So once you get to a certain level, then you start to shrink, like you feel like you can't handle anymore. So she gave me two things. She told me to read Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap,
Hmm.
where it talks about the upper limit syndrome. So I could
Yes.
understand that. And then she gave me this affirmation that I have used so many times and given to so many people. I expand in my capacity to receive abundance, love, and joy as I inspire others to do the same. And that affirmation has been so pivotal to me. I've worked with Susie a lot. She has a program called Alive OS. I've gone
Hmm.
through the program twice, and it's really helped me to unpack the limiting beliefs and then also my capacity for what I think I deserve. Or, oh, this is too good. I can't handle anymore. So I do something dumb and then I blow it all up. It's also helped me to become a better negotiator because, as you say, I'm not going in from a scarcity mindset anymore. I'm going in from an abundance mindset. And it's important for me to share this also. Does that mean that I always go in with an abundance mindset? No. But now I have more awareness. So now if I go in and I notice myself moving from a scarcity point of view, I can pump the brakes and gather myself and then maneuver to think, okay, what's the best way to move forward?
I love that. I love that. You were supposed to meet her. You were supposed to meet her.
Oh, yes, yes, for sure.
But I definitely I know what you're saying. It's almost like they have an aura about them and like a flow state, right? And their energy and it just emits, right? And because
Yeah,
they have um, the right mindset, a growth mindset. They have a strong relationship with money. They see the universe as abundant, like all the things, right? And
for
so
sure.
I love that. And I think that, the more that we can talk about this, I think the better. So today, you're up in New York. It seems like you're doing a lot of things. I love that you put out the into the universe these jobs, these really high paying jobs.
Mhm.
So talk a little
Mhm.
bit about that because I've been fascinated by that. Like you curate this list basically to
Yeah.
just raise awareness on these amazing, amazing roles at all these different places.
Yeah, so about a year ago, I started reading the reports about 300,000 Black women in the US had exited the workforce. And then the number was 600,000 and then 900,000. And in my communities, because I've worked very closely with career development and specifically women, a lot of people were reaching out to me. I
Mhm.
mean, personally, professionally, and all I could sense was despair.
Mhm.
Despair and like, oh my God, we're doomed. Like, what what's gonna happen? And I'm the type of person that I cannot sit still. I'm it's my human design. Like
Hmm.
I'm a double Capricorn, and something in me was like, no, I can't sit with the despair. I cannot hold that for everyone. What can I do? So the antidote to despair is hope. So what I started doing, and because my network, especially on LinkedIn, is so vast, I see these incredible opportunities, and they're high paying opportunities. So I started resharing them. And it kind of like caught on, and people started saying, oh, wow, this is incredible. Thank you. Share more, share more. So it kind of sparked out of just this necessity for myself to infuse hope into people that I knew. So what I do now is I send an email out 3 times a week. Monday and Fridays, I'm sending high paying roles across sectors, across professional domains. And on Thursdays, I share career tips. They're related to my books, but they're not directly from those books. They're real time. And so, what I'm hoping to do is for those people who are experiencing the difficulties of this job market, is to say, hey, yes, we see the stats, we do see the headlines, things are bad, but companies are also hiring. And almost equally as interesting, all of the AI companies that we're saying AI is going to put people out of work, they're hiring, and they're hiring for new positions and skills. So, what I try to do is show that there is opportunity out there. I am not a recruiter, and I have to continuously put this out because at some point, someone flagged me on Instagram, on Threads, and my account was getting flagged, which is why I moved primarily to email. So I'm very transparent. I am not a recruiter. I have no desire to be a recruiter, but I can curate this list as my service to the greater community.
I love that. I love that. I know the other sort of kind of unintentional consequence, as it was 300,000, 600,000, 900,000. African American women, women of color, is the growth in startups, right? Like now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to bang my head against the wall trying to get back into corporate to something that maybe won't become available to me. So I'm just going to start my own thing. Have you also seen that? Because I have a couple of friends who that's what they did, and now they're doing great. Like they were built for entrepreneurship, right? Like
Yeah.
the system was confining them, and they've actually soared since they kind of stepped out and created their own thing with some kind of skill set that they already had that they were just using and getting compensated for in a different environment. Have you seen that as well?
I've seen that. I've seen a lot of people who always had an idea, but they
Yeah.
were too afraid and they had the safety net of corporate. So they would never risk clipping that golden parachute themselves, right? The
Right.
golden handcuffs were like
Yes.
a safety net for them. So I have seen people thrive in entrepreneurship. And just to be transparent, I've also seen people leave corporate and say like, oh, I want to bet on myself, and it's not worked out.
Yes.
Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but I have seen people thrive in that, and out of necessity, because a lot of people can't find work. Qualified folks who have done amazing things cannot get, they can't get past the final interview. Some of that, they can't even get a first interview. Some of that's AI. And
Hmm.
then there's bias
Yeah.
in our system, which we know. So yes, I've seen people thrive in entrepreneurship, and I think it's amazing when people learn how to unlock that skill set. And a lot of that goes back to like, oh, I can do this. I can believe in myself. Switching from a fixed mindset, which Carol Dweck says, oh, I'm doomed, I can't do anything, over to
Right.
that growth mindset.
Yeah, and then I have a couple of my friends who they've gone through those programs that I think JP Morgan Chase has one, Goldman Sachs has one, like 10,000 women.
Yeah, 10,000 women. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've had success in that. But then when they go to get capital or venture capital funding or private equity money, it's tough. It's really tough.
Hmm.
And they'll even have, mentor small business coaches and stuff like that, and they still, even with putting all their numbers together, and they might even be seven-figure business owners, it's just getting that capital to keep their business going is a little bit of a struggle that I don't think, I'm just going to say, white guys have. And so
Right.
that's where I think there's even bias in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've experienced it myself where people will say, especially men of another race, they're like, "Oh, did you think of that idea yourself?" And that is the experience that a lot of women have. A lot
Yes.
of women that I know during the pandemic, I worked in this program coaching women to start a business. Again, another time where women started businesses out of necessity. And I was coaching about 50 women per cohort to get their business idea up and launched. And several of those women won pitch competitions,
Mhm.
and several of them have gone on and they do have businesses where they have raised funds for. And some of the feedback that they get is like, oh, you need a co founder because you might get pregnant. Men never are told you have to have because you
Right.
could get pregnant. Like, of course, women can get pregnant and they can run a business at the same time. That type of bias, you think we wouldn't hear it in 2026, but it still happens. And then there's this thing of like, men get funding based on potential, but women need a proven track record.
Right.
And so, and there's a lot of research that go back decades that say the same thing. So, yes, getting the capital to scale is a serious issue. There's a brand that folded last year, very beloved beauty brand, Ami Cole. The founder is from New York, but she's now on the West Coast, I think. She publicly shut down her business. She had raised a lot of money, but she raised just enough money to fail. When you're in the retail business, she had to have product to put into all of these retail stores. She needed more capital to survive,
Hmm.
and she just didn't get it. And that's another story, that layered nuance about money. Like, yes, even if I do raise money, you're not giving me enough money to for me to be successful. You're giving me just enough to fail.
Hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. So, there's also there's such a, like, when you think about the global economy, and the fact that women are going to be, the recipients of, wealth transfer and things like that, even though we only earn, 50 cents on the dollar or whatever it is globally. What are some things that you would recommend to sort of the listeners, to sort of get smart about their money?
Yeah, I love that there are so many resources for money. This podcast series, for example, one of the things that I would recommend for the listeners, if you have an episode that something in there really resonated with you, listen to that episode 10 times. Don't move on to the next tool. There's an abundance of information, and sometimes we get information fatigue. So once you have an episode that something sparks your curiosity, follow that trail. And then also tell someone that you trust, hey, this resonated with me for XYZ reason. Listen to it. Let's talk about it. Because from there, you build community. Then we start releasing the shackles of shame. And then we start finding a path forward. That's what I've done personally. When I've made big money mistakes, the moment I started telling people that I trust, hey, I've effed up. This is what I've done. I need help. I'm like, the burden of like, oh, I'm some weirdo kind of
Hmm.
falls off. And then I start finding solutions and I can start finding my path forward. And I think it's also important, even for folks who talk about money or have written books related to money, for us to say, hey, I also make mistakes with money. And this is how I move forward from it. Because then it takes the pressure off that we need to be perfect. And if we're honest, I'm a millennial woman, I'm an elder millennial. A lot of us have been screwed with the promise that we were sold, right? Do this plus this equals success. When the reality is, a lot of millennials graduated during the Great Recession. And then
Hmm.
we had COVID, and now we're having whatever this is. Um, So, so it's like we also, yes, we want to work really hard, be diligent. We want to find the right tools. We don't just want to hear those tools. We want to put them to action, but we also cannot be unrealistic and ignore the factors of the market. We have to take that information and then we have to put it into action with something that can work from us. And so I love this money series that you're doing, Tracy, because it gives us a concrete thing where we can anchor in and then just go really deep on that subject.
I love that. That's great advice. That's great advice. So the podcast is Brave Girls with Tracy M. And so I always ask people, what is the bravest thing you've ever done and how does it inspire you today?
I thought about this, the bravest thing that I've ever done. Um, there's been so many brave things. I've had to confront fear in so many aspects of my life. First generation college grad, moved to a different state where I knew no one for graduate school. Um, and each time I've done something brave, I've learned that my capacity to overcome is is so much stronger than what I thought. I also wrote a book on resilience, Dear Resilient Leader. And what I've learned is that with resilience and doing something brave, I can bend without breaking. So I'll tell you the actual thing that was the bravest thing I've ever done. It's after I'd written my book, my money book specifically, Don't Leave Money on the Table. I had a huge financial mistake. And I talked to one of my close friends. She's a CPA, and she's been a CPA for 15 years. And I kind of told her, hey, I made a mistake. Here's what happened. I don't know what to do to move forward. And she's like, that is very common. This is what you do. Thanks
Hmm.
for trusting me and telling me about it. And that was really brave for me because I had created a narrative of the shame around that. Like, oh, I shouldn't be making this mistake. I know better. And then when I started digging into the resources she sent me, it's such a common mistake.
Hmm.
Um, so that was brave. But going back to resilience, what that taught me is that I can bend without breaking and I
Hmm.
can come back stronger and I can anchor in roots. And then along with that is, okay, now that I've been brave about this, can I be braver? Can I openly share this story with other people so that they don't experience the type of stress and shame that I induced on myself?
Yeah, I think so my second book is called Conquer Shame and Claim Success. And so shame is like one of the lowest vibe emotions that you can have. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're living in it and you've created these stories in your brain about it, oh, nobody else knows, right? You're like swirling in shame. Um,
Yeah,
it does take a lot of bravery though to like have a trusted person that you can communicate with to kind of open that door a little bit. And lucky for you, you had that resource, right? Of just that one trusted person that you felt comfortable enough having the conversation. And then you have to kind of work through it. And she has to tell you, right? Like, oh, like that's a common thing. There's a way out of this, right? And then
yeah,
using your story to then maybe help somebody else, right? That has made the
yeah,
same mistake or had the same shameful thing that they've experienced that they don't want people to know, right? About their lived
right.
so, um,
But you just mentioned something, Tracy, that helped me find the courage. You talked about how shame has a low vibration. So I had this printout of Dr. David Hawkins' scale
mhm,
of consciousness, and I had it years ago, but the printout some type of way was in like one of my portfolios, and I was flipping through looking for a book of stamps, and I
mhm,
saw it, and it kind of brought me back to his work.
yes,
And when I saw where shame was, and I knew I was experiencing shame, I knew I had to just go one level up, right?
yep,
To get
yep.
to get myself out of it.
Yeah, I worked with a coach who would tell me all the time, you just have to get to acceptance because acceptance is sort of the line that then once you accept whatever it is, then you can go into the higher vibes, right? But you just have to
Yeah.
get to that acceptance of even if it's not something that you really feel good about, you have to accept that it is what it is, right? And that is
Yeah.
always the first step for me is how can I get to acceptance, right? And then how can I use this as I think Oprah's the one that's always like, what can you learn from this? Like, what is this supposed to teach?
Yes.
Right. And so that's my second question is, okay, I'm supposed to learn something from this. What is it supposed to teach me? And then can I teach it to somebody else in a way that will help them not go through this experience that I just went through? So I do that a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I heard that from Oprah and one of her guests, Michael Beckwith,
Yes.
the life visioning process. Yes, I also try to practice that as well. What is trying to emerge through me from this experience?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that we finally connected. I will put in the show notes all your contact information, all your book information, so that if people want to follow you or they want to order your books, they'll be able to do that. What are you working on right now that really excites you?
Thank you for sharing the books. And also, we've got to get you on the Winning Season podcast to talk about your books as well. The thing that I'm working on now that I'm really excited about, there's a lot of it is on my website, JacquelineTwillie.com, but I'm exploring how can I push boundaries with AI. So I'm building a few tools. There's one career tool that is called Career Lab. It's a set of 3 assessments. They're free assessments, but they help you to identify where you may have a skills gap or leadership gap so you know exactly where to focus. And I'm tinkering with this idea of building a podcast CRM that helps people to leverage their networks. Specifically, I've been thinking about women who have spent their years building dynamic networks and careers. And a lot of them talk about, hey, I want to start a podcast. How do I get a guest? Or how do I get a sponsor? And it's like, oh, you already have it. So this tool kind of helps nurture that process. And I'm very excited about what AI agents can do for us. So, moving beyond being in a chat, but then taking away a lot of that administrative stuff that we kind of don't do. So,
Mhm.
not taking a job from anyone, it's the
Yes.
stuff that kind of gets, oh crap, I need to have a day off, or I need to be stuck in an airport where I can actually get all of these things done. Taking AI agents and shipping them out for people to be able to take that burden off, which sits in the back of your mind and takes a lot of your energy. And so I'm building a set of agents for free that people can copy and customize, specifically in the space of philanthropy and partnerships.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I am of the belief that there's AI for good, and I'm also I believe that you still need to have the human involved in certain
Absolutely.
things. But if AI can create your talking points or put a deck together for you, things that in the past may have taken a lot of time administratively to put together, but sort of conceptually what it is that you want people's takeaways to be. And I've been using it a lot for that.
Yeah.
So some of the more tactical communications and change work that I do, so that I can focus more strategically on, the stakeholders that and the impacts that are being had and how receptive they are and how ready they are for different changes. So that's
Yes.
exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. And I think a lot of companies also in the like talent development space, there's going to be new jobs created, I think, right?
Oh, for sure. The World Economic Forum projected, um, I can't think of the exact stat, so I don't want to say, but they projected, yes, there is going to be job loss, but there is going to be exponential job gain from this. And a few examples, I actually wrote about this in my newsletter a few months ago. A few examples of that are things that we already know about. Prompt engineering as one,
Right.
right? AI quality testers. This whole market has popped up of people who do model training,
Yes.
experts who will look at a model and say, hey, no, that's actually wrong. It does this. those roles did not exist before. So those are some that we all know off the top of our head that are created. There will be many more that will be created from this. And I think it's important for us. I know there's a lot of fear. I've been to so many dinners and coffees and one on ones where people are like, oh, I'm not going to use it. I was like that. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I had a friend sit down, we co-worked together here in the city, and for about 6 hours, he walked me through, and I started increasing my education. And also, we talked about what does it mean to responsibly use these tools? How do
Hmm.
you also spend time offline? So I
Hmm.
do painting acrylic on canvas and acrylic on plywood as
Hmm.
part of my return to self, like my artist way work, my artist dates,
Yes, yes.
to balance out my AI use, but I'm also learning more. I'm actually reading these technical reports about, okay, I don't know enough about data centers and water. So let me go find the source of these reports and educate myself so that I can responsibly engage and not just say I'm against it or for it. I need to know what are the facts surrounding it. So, yes, 100% to your point. We have to see the jobs that are created, acknowledge the jobs that are going to be lost, look at the environmental impact, and also how do we mitigate that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for being my first guest on this series of Smart Money. Couldn't ask for a more perfect guest. And I'm so glad that I finally met you via Zoom.
Likewise.
And this is just the beginning of our relationship. And I know that our listeners are really going to get a lot out of everything that you had to say. And now you're a resource for them. And we are in over 54 countries. So women around the world are going to hear your message and get to know who you are. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Smart Money. If you've enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone that you think needs it. These stories matter because the more we talk openly about money, the more we normalize women owning their financial journeys and shaping the future of finance and the world. You can find show notes and more episodes and connect with us on social. Until next time, remember, being smart with money isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. So these were real stories, real money, real power, because financial confidence starts with these conversations.